Do you think empaths are here on a mission? How has that impacted you now as an adult, having gone through that and looking back? Do you feel I needed to go through that to become who I was? Or,
After that other psychic, I was going to kill myself. Now I have a plan. Now I have a direction. It took me getting an attunement with.
welcome to the Sigma Empath Podcast, episode 2. My name is Vital Germain. In today's episode, we're going to talk about intuition, navigating the social stigmas of being a neurodivergent, and are empaths also angels with psychic abilities? Our guest today is Morgana Starr. Morgana, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Vital. I am Morgana Starr, and I'm the angel communicator and psychic medium. I do a lot of things.
Okay. What I want to talk to you mainly about is I know a lot of your work, you do amazing work, and I want to sort of dive into certain aspects. Intuition. We're going to talk about intuition, who is intuitive. Empaths tend to be highly intuitive. How can they optimize, stimulate, strengthen their intuition? And then we're going to go into the realm of being psychic. Who is psychic? What's the difference between intuition and psychic? And also, I want to learn and understand about some of your journey of recovery from social alienation, social abuse, and narcissist abuse. So let's dive in and tell me, with your expertise, how would you define being a psychic? What exactly is that?
A psychic to me is a um, empath that hasn't been trained yet. Or no, I said that backwards. An empath can be trained to become a psychic. A psychic is someone that is like a prophet.
Okay.
So for the people that follow the Bible, I'm a missionary's daughter, that Jesus would do the prophecy. He
Yeah.
was a psychic. He was a spiritual healer. He was also a medium. So it's following the path of the masters when you are a full-blown psychic.
But over the years, we've had there's somewhat of a maybe misrepresentation of what the psychic is. We've had back in the day, if you remember,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Miss,
uh,
Miss
Dion
Cleo.
Warwick, Dion Warwick, Miss Cleo, and they
Yeah.
gave the psychic community this sort of bad rap because they were maybe rip-offs, and then you get the cliche thing, well, didn't you see it coming? You're a psychic. Is that what it is, or is there a deeper scientific, more paranormal thing that people misconceive about being a psychic?
There actually is a physical thing that happens in a person's brain when they develop their psychic abilities. So, and that has been tested by many people. I used to be on a show called Sisters for the Soul with Echo Bodine, and she's had that tested. She's been on a lot of TV shows and such. So it shows that something different happens in the brain because it's all the pineal gland that is associated with your psychic ability.
Yeah.
So that has to be taken care of, and you need the training so you do it the right way. There's charlatans out there. We have some around us too. And what happens is they'll tell them some outlandish thing, and then they usually come to me and say, "Is that really true?" So it's usually not. Um, but they're in it for the money. They're in that to scam people, and then some of them are in it. They just don't know, and they give bad advice to people. I had a client that came to me that was had a reading by a medium in the area, and he was so depressed. So we did the reading. I don't remember what happened, except there was a piece of paper there, and I drew out a business plan for him. I channeled it through my angel. He took that and he laughed and he stopped and he looked at me. He goes, "Thank you. After that other psychic, I was going to kill myself. Now I have a plan. Now I have a direction." So
So
I don't like those people.
you provide this insight. You've obviously, I'm assuming, you had to navigate and understand what being a psychic is. How do you, I mean, empaths, other neurodivergents, we don't fit in to the neurotypical standards of life. And so here you are, a bit different. a lot of empaths struggle because we're alienated. What was that like for you? You're an empath, you're an HSP, you're a neurodivergent, and you're a psychic. Surely there's a lot of stigma and trauma navigating this world. How did you navigate that? And how did you embrace this gift?
It was a challenge. I was raised in Africa on the mission field, on the top of the mountain, very isolated. I was happy there, even though my family said they didn't think I fit in, that I wasn't part of the family, because I always had my head in the clouds and talking to animals that no one else could talk to. When I was 9 years old, I came to America. That's when it hit me hard because there were so many people around. I got sick at my stomach. I had headaches. My parents had me tested, but then they figured out I was just a hypochondriac.
So when you say you came to America and it was really hard, is it purely based on the cultural difference? And then when you said your parents had you tested, a lot of neurodivergents get tested, they get medicated. What did they test you for?
Well, actually, they tested me for some African diseases like bilharzia and sleeping sickness and such like that, because I would sleep 16 hours a day and then still be tired. So they had no idea what was going on. They didn't try to medicate. They did the shame thing. I was lazy, all of those things. And I just needed to buckle up and deal with the people. But I was thrown into fourth grade with all these kids, and I'd never been in a public school before.
What does that
So
feel like as a child?
it
Because a
was
lot
like
of,
prison. It was like prison. It felt like hell. I
how has that,
hated it.
how has that impacted you now as an adult, having gone through that and looking back? Do you feel I needed to go through that to become who I was, or I could have become who I was without that trauma and that judgment and alienation and degradation and shame?
So I like that question, and it kind of relates to um, maybe something else later. But I asked my angel about it. I work with the angel, the feminine divine, the mother aspect of the God source. And she told, because, I've had a lot of challenges, like a lot of people have in their lives. She said the people with the biggest missions will have the most struggles because you have to refine yourself. It's like a diamond. It doesn't start like a diamond. It needs that pressure. It's a phoenix rising from the ashes. So you got to be burnt up again to recreate yourself.
Do
But
you
there,
think do you think empaths are here on a mission? Because a lot of them suffer and struggle. They
they are here on a mission. They just don't have the support they need. And so they're lost like I was. I didn't know until many years later what was going on with me. It took me getting an attunement with Reiki to begin to open this third eye, to begin to see the bigness of the world and who I really was and how I could help humanity, because that was always my goal.
what does it now feel like to be in a position of empowerment? You've gone through fire and brimstone to find yourself, your calling. I mean, surely it's got to be so empowering and uplifting. And I would imagine a lot of people are listening in thinking, well, I want to get there too. What can they look forward to?
Peace,
Peace?
hope, and feeling like finally they're doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Because I know I struggled. From 9 years old when I was baptized. And I remember that so very clearly, coming up out of the water, and I dedicated my life to help God, as I saw it at that time, because I was still ingrained in the church. So now my path is more of um, taking the machete and clearing the jungle so the others have a little easier way.
Yeah.
It took me 30 years to get to where I am now,
Wow.
with working and doing the work. So I give all my clients and my students lots of homework to help them develop so they have the power. And it
Yeah.
has to come from in here,
Yeah.
not out there.
And as a coach, I know that we, with our expertise and knowledge, we speed up the process for other people. You've brought up Africa and the mission a couple of times, and I want to understand. I think as empaths, one of the qualities and traits of the empath we tend to be open-minded because we seek understanding. We want to be in the shoes of somebody to understand their journey. It's not always easy. But here you are being raised very religious, but you've embraced these pagan witch, you should have been burned at the stake type of rituals. How did you, first of all, navigate again the alienation, but internally, two opposing philosophies that are within you?
It took a lot of reading, learning, meditating to realize it's all the same. I remember reading a book that had on one side Buddhism and another side Christianity, and they were all parallel. And I freaked out. I got to be honest, I freaked out when I started seeing dead people. I knew I was going to hell.
You
And
see,
then,
you see dead people. There was a movie, and the catchphrase was, "I see dead people."
yeah,
Hold that thought because I want to get back to that. But continue what you're saying. But I want to get back to the seeing spirits and dead people too in a second.
I forgot what I was saying.
That's okay. That's okay. Let's get to the people. That means that was more important. So for the
Oh, no, it wasn't. Wait a minute. This is important. Jesus said, "These things I do, you too can do and more."
what does that mean?
That's how I recovered. Jesus was a prophet. He was a healer. He taught, he was a medium. He said, "You have these gifts. Take them, use them." And most of us, and I told my dad at one point when he asked me, he goes, "I don't understand. You're more peaceful than I've ever seen you, but you don't go to church." And I said, "Dad, I will not throw these gifts back in the face of God." So I found the synchronicity, and there's so many other texts, like the Gospel of Thomas that has been hidden, and other things like that, that I know I'm doing what divine work.
So there's a level of accountability and responsibility for the empath, for those who have been gifted with um, intuition, psychic abilities. This is a gift, and we have a responsibility to use it for the betterment of humanity. Is it really that poetic?
I feel like it is. And there's two reasons. One is humanity needs empaths. We need that in this world. Number two, empaths need to do their work. If they hold it all in, they're miserable. I just had some people come into my shop that one just, she quit doing her Reiki and her healing work because she kept feeling everybody else's stuff. But she was using old modalities of bubble of light, attracting all this darkness and all these other things. So I activated her with Angel's energy that she had gifted me with the pyramid of protection. She felt great afterwards. Though that's, people should never stop doing healing and loving people with boundaries. I love the way you teach about the boundaries, but just because it's hurting them. And then we have to find balance. Yeah, I take time for just myself,
Have you
but
struggled? Have you struggled with boundaries along your journey? Have you struggled with
I
boundaries?
have struggled with it so much. As an empath, we see a person's heart and potential. And in many times in relationships, what my students and clients have done, and I did for a while too, you fall in love with the potential, not what the person is actually going to ever do. And then what do? You go in there and you start trying to fix them. "Oh, I know you can do this, and I know you can do that." Well, that's a good way to ruin a relationship.
I agree with you. It's the common downfall of the empath. We want to fix through our love and our nurture, but we're not here to fix. We're here to, I look at it as we're here to plant seeds of inspiration to help people, but we can't fix them. We can inspire them to fix themselves. Would you agree with that? Or can you
I
phrase?
do agree with that. And tools are important, but I believe internal tools.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on now, and I'm working with some people that had past lives in um, Atlantis. And so they use spirituality and machines together to help elevate the consciousness. But many people will take that, and even crystals. What crystal do I need for this and this and this? Well, crystal here, but let's fix this. You don't fix your mind and the way that you think about yourself or humanity with a crystal, which sounds weird because I own a crystal store. But it has to be internal. It needs to be something where you shift and you set your boundaries, you learn and you grow and you help more people.
The crystals, is that a conduit for a shift in energy? I believe energy, and Nikola Tesla said view the universe in terms of energy. The crystals, is that an alignment of energy? Is the
It,
work we do a shift in energy rather than physical program?
yes,
Is it energy?
yes. Well, and see, this is the thing. You can also program crystals. I have I have courses like that on my website, but you can program the crystal not just for a purpose. Like, let's say you want peace in your life, so you program it in a certain way, and that's its job, and it knows it, and it partners with you. You can also program it for someone you love, and then give it to them. So it's kind
Very,
of
very quickly, you said it's on your website. Very quickly, drop the website link so that people can.
it's angels-oasis.com.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful. I want to touch on intuition. I believe it's a gift that everybody's given. To your point, the pineal gland, it connects us to the higher power, the source, the universe. Not everybody is aware of intuition. Not everybody understands it, and we negate it. Every time I've negated my intuition, I've regretted it. I've learned to not trust it. I've learned to obey it.
yeah,
What's your take on intuition? Is everybody intuitive? If they are, what's the simple fix? How do you strengthen your intuition?
everyone has a gem of intuition inside of them. Many people have no desire to ever develop it, and that's fine. They don't need to. Um, Empaths, though, when they start developing their intuition, that's when they need a little more support because it's freaking scary.
So where
It,
do they get the support? Because a lot of empaths I'm finding live in isolation. They've been so disappointed and hurt by the world. It's safer, it's easier, they have peace in isolation. So where do you get this support system, or can you find that within?
it is a process of finding it within, and that's part of what I teach online is how to develop that and how to grow with it. But here's the thing that I do that's different than some other people that teach. I'm going to teach you how to protect yourself first, and we're going to practice that, and we're going to connect you with your angels and your guides. If you do not have that in my world, my belief system, you're just kind of out there floating around and beating up against the walls and having a rough time.
Yeah.
But when you know who your ancestors are behind you, you got these angels that have these huge wings, you're going to just start moving on to the next level. But
So
then you're going to need confirmation.
you brought the word angels up a lot. I believe in angels. As a child, I felt this protective force constantly around me that I couldn't explain. I still feel it now at times. I have two white furry angels that reside with me. I'm their kahu, their dog kahu. We all have the image, the religious image of the angel. We hear about fallen angels. What is an angel? Do they have wings?
No, no, that's our little baby human brains. That's how we saw them. If you look back into some of the ancient Sumerian hieroglyphs, there are pictures of winged beings, and they have this thing around their head. Sometimes it even looks like a space helmet. And when you think about, I believe they talked about it when the people were coming to America, and the natives on the shoreline, they didn't see the ships because they'd never seen ships before. Then they got really close before they actually saw them. The same thing happens with our human mind. Angels have to work the way we can see things and understand them. So when these angels, who are intergalactic beings of light, I believe they came from other dimensions, other planets, to come and help humanity here evolve. They saw the light, they saw the glow, they never seen glow around other beings, so they assumed it was um, wings. The glow came from their hands because they used the hands to work with the magnetic force of the earth. And that created that magnetic force, is what created the glow around them. And then they're flying in the sky, so they got to have wings, right?
That's beautiful. I've heard of jazz hands. I've never heard of angel hands, but that's fantastic. Are empaths, so with this description, you talked about the light and all these things. Are empaths earth angels?
Depends on what you mean by earth angel. I
Uh,
hear that term used a lot. Angels, to me, they're not human. They will embody a human. Fragments of an angel will embody a human. I've met many and woken many up that didn't know they had that. Um, here's a little key to know if you've got that angelic fragment with you. When you were young, did you dream about flying? I know you flew without a net, uh, but dreaming about flying, dreaming about falling, because that whole fallen angel thing is a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down sometime. But that means they have something. Not everybody dreams that. Those are angelic energies that are working through you to wake you up to your power.
Going back to intuition and being psychic, what's the difference? When does somebody go from highly intuitive to psychic? Does it go back to the ability of the pineal gland? Is it more than that?
That's a good question. It doesn't go back to the pineal gland. That's only a part of it.
Yeah.
It goes back to your connection with your guides and your angels.
So if I worked with you over time, I could take my intuition and become psychic, clairvoyant.
Many have,
That's good.
and
That's good.
some have started their own business. So, yeah.
In the beginning, I briefly touched on the trauma associated with being a neurodivergent. I want to go a little bit deeper in how you deal with the stigma of being a psychic, a witch, an angel, all of these beautiful things, but society's like, oh, that woo woo stuff, How do you navigate that and stay
It
true
is,
to what you are and what your purpose is?
I am very out there with who I am. I didn't used to be, but now that I have a shop and a school, I'm definitely out there, probably for the last 15 years or more.
Yeah.
So I just, it depends on the situation. So if somebody wants to say something about, well, what do you see around me if you're psychic? Or what am I thinking if you're psychic? I'll usually just joke at them and say something like, oh, honey, I'm not going to say that aloud. And then just leave it. So the worst thing that I get with, because people know who I am and what I do, they kind of treat me like a magic 8 ball. So I don't do that.
For me, a part of the journey of my growth and my empowerment was to embrace I am an empath. I have to own it. I have to leverage it. It's a part of who I am. And now there's this responsibility. And it took a lot of work. And it's something that I try and encourage people. Embrace that you're an empath. It doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. It means you've been gifted with this one specific thing. And now it's your responsibility. Everybody's got a different gift. And own it with dignity and pride, and don't feel the shame of society. So I'm glad that you have empowered yourself because you bring great value to the community. Now I want to go to the narcissist. The empath attracts the narcissist. You're a psychic. You're an empath. You're an HSP. Have you attracted narcissists in your
Oh,
life?
yeah. Yeah.
So again, the cliche question: how did you not see it coming as a psychic? I'm
And
I'm
that's,
I'm being a bit funny here, but
No, it's a great question. Um, there are some things that are presented to us in our lives that we choose on a soul level because, again, back to the Phoenix energy, your soul knows something and your mind may know something else.
Yeah.
My soul knew I needed to dive into that situation so that I could learn what I needed to do about myself. I mean, due to that, I have met the most marvelous teachers because of the narcissistic type people I was with would bring me to situations where I've met amazing, powerful high priests, druids, um, Native American energy. It's just fabulous. So I know all of that transformed me. And even I moved here in to Florida 15 years ago. About 3 years in, I went back to visit Indiana to the store I had worked at. I knew the people there, they did not recognize me. I had
When
to
you say,
introduce
when you
myself.
say they didn't recognize you physically,
Mhm.
energetically, you became somebody different.
Yeah, both, both. Yeah.
Have you?
Someday I'll share pictures, but I'm not sharing some of those pictures on the internet today, but I
But
did not, was not the same.
but was the essence of you the same, or had that changed too?
I would say that the essence didn't change. When you do this work, your essence stays there, but sometimes it's like here. And in order to really help humanity, your essence has to expand and grow and be that the inner needs to come to the outer to be able to help humanity.
And that's very scary.
It it is. Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed this journey, and in closing, I kind of want to touch a little bit on childhood. A lot of empaths experience childhood trauma. My very short theory is the reason why that happens is that you're designated to be an empath, and by default, you're here to heal. So you were designated toxic parents because that's a part of the journey. You've got to feel the pain to be able to help other people. Did you experience, other than being different, did you experience childhood trauma? And if so, I'll let you answer that first. Did you experience any form of
Yes,
childhood trauma? You did.
yes, yes. My Reiki master teacher took me through a changing your memory. Excuse me, changing your memory. When you change the memory of the situation and flip it into power instead of the victimhood that I was carrying, that made all the difference in the world.
Do you
And
remember? Do you remember the trauma? Is it an energetic memory? Is it a visual memory? I remember my childhood like a movie.
right, that's
Certain
the way
things
I see
that,
it. Mhm.
yeah, and then there are certain things that I can't remember visually, but my body feels it. I can't explain it.
Right, right. Well, that's the protection that we're given because some things we do not need to remember in detail. It's hard on our psyche as we're healing and growing. But if we know we moved past it and we are now in power of those emotions and whatever triggers those people or people like that would give us, then we know we've made the next step. We've gone up higher in our vibration. That's what takes this inner pain and transforms it into our power and our strength.
So now that you've navigated this journey, you've become the powerful, influential, healing woman that you are. If you could go back in time and talk to the 5-year-old traumatized Morgana, what did she need to hear? What did she need from you? What can you give her now that she didn't have?
I think it is just to tell her you are loved. I'm not letting you go. It will be tough, but I'll be there every step of the journey with you. And to be accepted for who you are.
I love it. Beautiful. Morgana, it's been an amazing journey with you. How can people find you? I know you have multiple platforms. You have an institute, you've got your store, you're a medium, you're a psychic, you do Reiki. Where do they find you across all platforms? And by the way, I'm going to put it in the comments below for people can read it, but where do they find you?
Best way is angels-oasis.com. And we have the link there for the online school. We are on TikTok under Angels Oasis. I think it may be angels_oasis. And then we're also on Instagram, Angels Oasis. And you can follow me on my personal page too. I post a lot of things there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Morgana, thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you for sharing your insight, some of your
Thank
pain.
you.
It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm going to go work on my angel hands.
Angel hands. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.